Yeah, okay. So we're live, I guess. No, we're not live. This is the start of the show, and I have with me Danieylah. How do you pronounce the other?
Yeah, I know. It's Danieylah Ahlahynah Veola. It's a lot of ahs, ah-h's in there, yeah.
Okay, and I think I correctly guessed that this might not be the name that you were born with.
Correct, yes. So my original name, this is an optimized name.
Okay.
So my original name was Danieylah Veola.
Okay.
And I was actually born with two names.
Yeah.
So, and this is something that I specialize in. I specialize in the phonetics of names and optimizing the phonetics to enhance your life's purpose and mission, to enhance your life experiences, right? Because everything comes down to sound, right? The word, started with God, and, God is the word and starts with sound. So my name now is Danieylah Ahlahynah Veola. So I optimized it so it shifted the frequency, right? Because we are bioenergetic beings, and we everything in this universe, right, according to universal law, and specifically the universal law of energy and vibration, is everything is energy. If you think of Nikola Tesla, right, he said, if you want to understand the universe, you have to think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. So if you think about it, the sound of your name, right, it sends out a very specific frequency.
Right, because I thought about this, like, because when I'm in Scotland or when I was in the States or whatever, I would usually, wow, my window's opened. This is great TV. Anyway, we're just gonna roll with it. So, so my name that I use is Matjaž usually in Slovenia, but in there I use Matt. So it's quite, but sometimes I would sign it with the one T though. I don't know if that makes a difference, because I used to be into, like, really big into astrology / numerology when I was like really like 19. So I thought at that time I thought it meant something, but then I got into some other writings and I kind of discarded that. But it seems like it worked for you. Like how did it change your life in a way when you changed your name?
Oh, wow. Well,
Legally,
yeah.
legally you changed your name, right?
Yeah, I changed it legally. Like, I went down to the courthouse. I had to apply all this paperwork and proof and go through this whole process and wait for the courts to approve it. I had to go in front of a judge. And then here in the United States, you go in front of a judge approves it, but then you have to announce it in the world. This is part of the legal process. You have to put it into a newspaper and make an announcement that you are no longer known by this name. Now you're known by that name. Once you have that proof, you have to literally show the paper clipping, right? This is after you've sat with the judge, the court has approved it, they send it to you in the mail. You have to go and publicize it. Then once you publicize it, you have to put all that paperwork together with the newspaper clipping.
Why?
Send it, and then you get your paperwork saying it's official.
But then you have to pay like an ad. You have to like take out an ad basically.
Yes, you have to take out an ad, and the ad isn't expensive. They have a process, it's like $30-something to send it out. It's not a big deal. But then you have to, once you get the paperwork and the clipping from the newspaper and you send that back to the courts then send you copies, official affidavits of the name change. And with those official affidavits, you can then go to your creditors, you can then go to the Social Security, you can then go to the New York State, Department of Vehicles, so on and so forth.
Right. Well, let's go back to the name specifically, because you were born with the name Danieylah, but then you changed the spelling of it.
Yes.
For the vibrational reasons.
Yes. Okay.
Wow.
So this is, okay. So when I was born, right, I was born with one name, but my mother misspelt it on my birth certificate. So on the day of my birth, I had my birth name legally, that the world legally, like, because through the town clerk and through, Social Security, everything had this misspelled name.
How was it spelled?
All right. So it was just the first name was misspelled. So my first name was Danielle. And my mother misspelt it by leaving out the E at the end. So
really?
It was, oh, no, I'm sorry. It was Danielle, Dani, no E, Lle.
Wow,
so
okay.
Danielle, it was Danielle.
I'm sure a lot of people made the mistake with your name. They're like...
So I have, because one of the things that I specialize in is soul contract work, which is all dealing with the birth name as per your birth certificate, translated phonetically, utilizing the ancient Hebrew alphabet.
Why Hebrew?
It's one of the most ancient technologies, right?
Okay.
It's one of the most ancient ones, and it holds the pure frequency. So for example, you've got almost 8 billion people on the planet, but no one has the same fingerprint.
Sure.
That's your soul signature, unique to you. So same thing when you're born, you come through the etheric net from the etheria into the physical, and you're imprinted the way your fingers are, but you're also energetically imprinted by how you are identified in this world. And how we are identified in this world is by what? By our names. So your name holds your soul signature frequency. So typically it's the birth certificate name, right? Because that's what officially is to the world, the way you are identified as and how you're received as. In my case, it's 2, because the birth certificate simultaneously was with my real name, Danielle, and Danielle. So I actually have double. So typically there's 7 aspects in someone's soul contract, chart. Mine has 14.
Wow.
So it's much more convoluted in interpretation because you have all these blendings of frequencies in the same aspects.
So then if I use a Matt, that would change, people call me Matt, then would change the whole thing instead of calling me.
And it's not that it changes the whole thing. So you want to think of it, because I deal with clients every day who have, I have my married name, then I have my hyphenated married name that I have, say, on my license, but then I have this name on a credit card, and you've got all these different frequencies shooting out to all these different places and spaces, so to speak. So for example, the Social Security here in the United States, Social Security identifies you this way, but then, your driver's license and per the state you live in identifies you this way. So you're shooting out like inconsistent energies and frequencies. So this is how it works. You have your birth certificate name. You want to think of it like layers of a cake. So for example, let's use strawberry shortcake.
Sure.
For a strawberry shortcake, you have vanilla cake as your base of the cake. That's your birth certificate name. Then say, around 18 years old, you decide, or even around 10 years old, you decide you're not going to go with your full name, meaning your first, middle, last. You're only going to go by your first and last. So now that infuses, say, the strawberry sauce on the vanilla cake. So now the flavor changes, right? You still got the base of the vanilla cake, but now you got the strawberries on it. So then say, 30 something years old, you get married and then you adopt the married name. The married name then would be the, whipped cream infusing into the strawberry sauce onto the vanilla cake. So now it just deepens and gives more robust of a flavor, right?
Okay.
So the thing is that you want to be consistent, though, in how you're communicating yourself to the world and how the world is receiving you, because that frequency, if it's too dispersed and too variant, that's where like confusion comes in. You're showing up in essence kind of as a different person in different scenarios with different people.
Yeah, I have that experience all the time. Yeah, because people, when they try to call me Matias in an English-speaking country, they usually misspell and they say Mad Jazz or something like that, which is totally different than my name. So that's why I kind of I was just like, yeah, you can call me Matt, whatever. And but I didn't know that can affect the energy in a way. So you're saying it can affect the energy.
Absolutely. It totally affects the energy, because as you are projecting to the world, what we project to the world is often quite different than what's received on the other end, right? I mean, even just in language alone,
Right.
You know, I can speak, we can speak. And I think that you're getting my point the way I'm thinking of it, but you're receiving the point in the way you're thinking of it, which is completely different. It's the same thing with when it comes to names, because think about that. That's how you're projecting to the world, how the world is receiving you.
Okay. Well, what do you think about I post a lot of memes, and there's been a shift recently where if somebody's a Karen, that means that she's you know, taking things too seriously, she's complaining and all that. And now, because the media, not the media, the memes are using it that way, then it's changing what the name means. And I'm sure some people are like, oh, I don't like, some women are probably like, I don't like my name being Karen anymore, or something, maybe because now it's popular culture and meme culture anyway, it's used in such a kind of negative way, you know.
Yeah.
Would that
Negative
change the vibration though?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, that if you're talking about in that sense, then you're talking about needs to be a certain level within the collective consciousness that
Right.
agrees with that in order for that to really push and
I see.
affect it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back to beginning and set up what exactly it is that you do. You mentioned soul contracts, and you do spiritual counseling as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually started off doing this work when I was 11 years old.
Okay.
That's how I started. My mother was going to a psychic seminar, which is like, they'll have them like in hotel conferences, and, you know, you'll have like, I mean, this is back in the day. I'm totally dating myself now. I'm talking about like the 1980s. You'd have a tarot card reader, an astrologer, you know, maybe somebody with essential oils, and they would have little tables, and you'd walk around, and maybe you might get your palm read, you know, and, my mother was going to one with her best friend, and I asked her what it was, and she described it to me. I said, "Ooh, I want to go to that. That sounds fun." And she was like, "Oh no, you're too young, you know, can't go." And I was not happy with that. So what I did was, I got on the bus, the public bus, and I took it to the biggest library that I could find, which was about 2 miles away from the house. And I went there, and this is back when they had the Dewey Decimal System, you know, and the little card index things. And I remember walking up to the woman at the library and telling her my plight, you know, this is my situation, and I want to know what this is all about, and what do you have? And she literally took me to like the basement of the library. Like, we had to walk down this stairwell into this very dark, you know, area underneath. And she brought me all the way to the end wall, the concrete wall. And she turned around and she said, "All right, this is it. This is where this section like this is what we have."
Oh, wow.
And I'm talking, this is 1984. So there really wasn't much there. There was a couple of like Time Life UFO books and some encyclopedia books and Amityville horror book. But there was one book there that I absolutely loved, and I want to do it. Hold on a second.
You still have it?
Because I still
I love it.
Yes, it is. I have it.
There we
and
go.
It was on handwriting analysis. This is the book.
Oh, I've heard of that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
And it's, let me say. Yeah, so down here it has the library, Middle Country Library.
Did you take it and never
I never
returned
it. I'm in trouble. I'm a bad girl. I never, because this book just meant so much to me. Let me see. The date here is June 2nd, 1982.
Okay. Wow.
And so I started studying it. This was the closest thing that I could find. They had nothing else there. This was it. And
by the way, they have nothing on you, so you were not registered probably at that time, so they have no record of you.
Not with this name.
Right. Okay.
And
that's
so
why you changed the name.
Yeah. Right.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Right. I was like, oh no, my book.
Yeah.
So I started studying it, and I got really good at it. And my mom's best friend, who took her to that psychic seminar, heard about my doing this work. And she said, "Oh, I'd love for you to do a reading on me and my sister who lives in Canada." And I did. I wrote out like handwritten pages of reports on them, just based on a sampling of their handwriting. And they loved it so much they wanted to pay me. And I said, no, don't pay me. So the next time I saw her, she came with 2 books, one on numerology and the other one on dream analysis. And I started studying those and getting really good at those. So by the time I was 13, I was like doing tarot and palmistry. I was doing astrology.
Okay. Does it matter how people write? Like if they write, like how do you call it?
Cursive?
Cursive? Yeah, cursive and the other way. Does it
Mm.
matter? Or is one more revealing? I imagine cursive would be more revealing because it's more nuanced and you're tracking the whole time, whereas the other one, you're kind of interrupting the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, you can analyze somebody's handwriting no matter which way they choose to write. Although,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the script is much more lively, I guess you would say, but you can read a lot from someone's handwriting, even if they just, if their way of writing is just regular and not in cursive,
Mm-hmm.
because what it shows is how you process stimuli, how you function in the world, the lenses upon which you receive stimuli and give out energy.
Right. What
It
does
all
it
could be
mean
read through your.
if you keep going up in your writing? I
Oh,
remember when I was a kid, I
yeah.
kept going up.
Well, that's definitely a sign that you are not in your body.
uh,
That's
Not in my
all, like,
body.
not in your body, meaning you're too much in your head, too much thinking about this or that, and you're not here. You're not right here,
Mm.
present within you.
Okay. What if you go down? That means you're too grounded.
It's been a long time for me. I
Okay.
can't
Okay.
really
All
tell
right.
you,
All
but
right. I
yeah,
just
yeah,
don't find it amusing. Like,
yeah.
okay, yeah, that makes sense. I was definitely like a dreamer. I daydreamed quite a bit as a kid.
Mm,
Yeah, a
yeah.
lot more than now. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely correct on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can tell basically somebody's base emotional state by their writing. Is that,
Yes.
yeah?
Yeah. And also their psychological state, most
If they
certainly.
have problems.
Yeah, you can literally project, like, if they're in this kind of scenario, this is how they'll react. This
You
is
ever had
how
some? You ever had something somebody give you writing and you're like, hmm, a psychiatrist, I think you
yeah.
messed up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it goes with the territory. Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time since I've done it. I
Yeah,
did that mostly in the 80s. By the
right.
time I was in the 90s, I was spiritually counseling people based on astrology, based on the comets, cosmic events,
Okay.
as well as my own intuitive sense. And I used all different kinds of divination tools. I was well versed in palm reading, tarot, astrology, and I would just draw from all the different tools and
Right.
then.
Okay, let's go to astrology because I have loved astrology when I was 18, 19, and I think it's still very useful because sometimes when I meet people, I'd be like, well, there's you can go on the on the website natal chart, and then just it'll throw out the cafe astrology, I think is the website. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
so I imagine you are into Western like astrology, not Vedic.
Right. Well, that's the thing is, you know, and again, I don't do astrology professionally.
Right.
Again, that was something
Okay.
I did like in the early 90s. I love the Vedic though. I am totally aligned with the Vedic, and I had actually looked at training myself in that. But that's a true investment, and
Yeah.
I've already got my plate full because what I do is my focus and my drive is to assist and support people in their ascension and in their awakening, in their process of coming into the wholeness of the truth of who they are. And so that's where the soul contract work comes in, because you can't get any more granular than a soul contract to show what your soul's purpose is, what the soul's drive is in this incarnation. And then I assist and support the person in embodying that through channeled healing. So that's really my niche and focus, is in the
Mm-hmm.
awakening and the ascension, working with the person multidimensionally, working directly with their higher self, with their I am, with their team, in spirit, whether it's a guardian angel, or it could be, an alien aspect of being, a cosmic aspect of being that's serving as an angelic for them, and assist in supporting and guiding them through the process of literally peeling back the layers of illusion that keep them tied down, limited, and small.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the most common illusion that people have about, because you're basically trying to help them fulfill their potential, what they came to do here on earth, and come become become more of themselves, basically more of what is closer to God in a way, another tradition would say.
Yeah.
So what is the most common thing?
The most common illusion for us all is the illusion of separation.
Separation between each other or between God and both? I guess both are the same in a way.
All of the above.
Right.
It's all of the above. The illusion that, it all goes back. One of the cores of my teaching all goes to universal laws. So like I just got finished teaching a 3-week online course just on universal law. And the first and foremost, and really the one and only universal law, is the law of one, meaning that we are all one. We are all aspects of the whole, right? So if you want to think of the whole is source, the whole is of God, the whole of the infinite creator, right? We are the creation of the creator, made in the likeness of the creator, meaning that we have all the elements that the creator has within it. We're just we're a fractal, we're a smaller representation of it, right? In our own unique light, as per the decisions and the choices that we have made over the millennia as a infinite karmic soul, right? We are an infinite being, spiritual being, having this journey and this experience. We just you and I happen to be sharing a human experience at this time, right?
Yeah. And then we're all gonna die, and
yeah, we're all gonna die. And then we'll, but we don't really die. The body, the physical vehicle, the vessel, you want to call it, it will die. But your spirit, your soul is infinite. It is pure energy in formless form, right? Meaning that this is the form, but when you leave this physical form, you go into your pure, unformed, energetic form, which is pure light.
Okay, how do you convince, well, I'm not convinced, but how do you bring that across to a Karen or a Kevin or whatever the male equivalent of the name is, to that there might be something more? Because I imagine a lot of people are probably stuck in just the material. I met many people that are like, I don't believe there is a God, or there is something more, because I believe in science and all that. And I think that's, while that has value, that's also kind of limited, because what are you gonna say 5 minutes before you die? You're gonna still stick to your story, or are you gonna be like, well, maybe I was wrong, maybe there's something more to this?
Yeah, that's a really beautiful question. And here's the thing, we're all on our own unique journey and path. So for me, when the person or the soul is ready, then the teacher appears, so to speak. And that goes for all of us, including myself. When I'm ready at a certain point, the teacher appears to show me the next level that I'm ready to receive. It's the messenger of it. So for me, I don't try to convince anybody of anything, right? Everybody is exactly where they should be in their process. But I love it that you bring up science, because for me, this is back in the 90s. So in the 90s, I was an actress. And in the early 90s, I was in college doing my bachelor's degree, and I was doing theater and art and things like that. And I remember my instructor, the director, and him lecturing us and saying, if you're going to go this path as an actress, you got to go full in. And you have to be at a point where there's nothing else on this planet that you'd rather be doing, because you got to have that kind of passion and dedication to really make it. And I responded with, there's really only one other thing that I could ever think of doing. And that would be to go to get my doctorate degree in a university that had a spiritual, a religious department, and had a quantum physics department, because I believe that science and religion, spirituality are actually one in the same. They are They are folds into each other, creating the wholeness. They are actually one. And I would like to merge those. This was in 1994. So they are in actuality one in the same when you allow that to come in, because quantum physics is proving over and over again the universal laws. For example, they have this, it's called the slit experiment. And it's where you have a machine that sends electrons, protons, energy, and the energy gets to a board that is like a board, and then the other one has slits. And they track the energy. And the energy moves in a very specific way until no one's looking at it. And then when no one's looking at it, it shifts in a different way. And what this proves, and you can Google this, you know, I'm not explaining it 100%, but in a very simple term, is that energy shifts and changes depending upon who's looking at it, depending upon the energy that's projected at it as it moves, right? And that's universal law. That, again, that's the law of energy and vibration. It's actually the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Energy is perpetually transmuting and shifting and changing, and what shifts and changes it is intent. It's the energy that is behind.
How do they know that it changes positions when they're not looking? Because somebody must be looking. Oh
no, they have equipment that's tracking it. You know, they have, you know, because you can't see the energy. It's the scientific equipment that's tracking it, where it's going, how it's behaving, how it's moving. And again, that's a very elementary example, and you could Google it and you'll get throngs of information. Quantum physics is proving, you know, all of these universal laws. And the universal laws, you know, people ask me, well, where are you getting this information from? It's from all the ancient texts, ancient Sumeria, ancient Egypt, not the more recent Egypt, but ancient Egypt, you know, the Dead Sea Scrolls, you know, if you recall back in the day when The Secret came out.
Oh yeah, I remember 2006.
Yeah, that was the revealing of one of the universal laws, which is the law of attraction, which actually came out, and it was great. Like for me at that time, I was like, woo, going mainstream, but it was only a partial truth. It left people, you know, disillusioned.
Right. It was very much focused on money, and maybe that kind of brought it down, because
materialism. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it, understand that, you know, some, depending on the sources that you speak to, some say there's 12 universal laws, some say there's 7, some say there's 30. I've even seen as high as 108 universal laws. But the absolute truth is there's only one universal law, the law of oneness. All the other laws are sub-laws that support the law of one, showing how the law of one works.
Right. The law of oneness. Is that the same as the law of love, basically? Is that similar, or that... because people say, oh, God is love. I do believe that personally. And but how do I, because people would say, you know, this is I'm playing devil's advocate, like, oh, how does that does not make sense, because obviously we are very different people and all that, and you can see all kinds of, like, you know, terrorists, or, you know, all pedophiles, all that. So it would seem that they're very far removed from the Gandhis and Jesus and Buddhas and whatever. So it seems like this very big discrepancy between people.
Yeah.
And so people would say, how can this happen? Okay, going back to the soul contract thing, is it possible that somebody has in the contract, or whatever, however it works, that it says that this person will go through some stuff that's really bad, like they agree to it? They're like, you know, I'm gonna get born in a horrible condition, and then it's gonna keep getting worse.
Well, I have a little two-parter for you. Number one is, so we live in a world of duality, right? And polarity, meaning you can't have a left without the comparative of the right to distinguish the left, correct?
Politics as well, yes. Okay.
Right. You can't, exactly. You can't have good without bad, because what's good unless you have bad to compare it to, so you can understand that it is good, correct?
Right.
Okay. So and this is what they call the universal law of comparison or relativity. Okay. One is relative upon the other. So with that being said, in everyone's soul contract, they have what we call karmic aspect, meaning the law of karma. The law of karma is that, well, for example, if I decide before coming into the physical, which we all do go through this process of deciding what is this next life going to be about? What am I there to do? What am I there to learn? It's always about the soul's growth and expansion. So if
you're talking about before you're born. Yeah.
Right. Before you're born, nobody comes down here, la, 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 without a focus of an intent of what they're going to be doing here. So what happens is if you choose to say you want to know what absolute abundance is, like infinite abundance, that's what you come here to learn, to embody, right? Mm-hmm. You will be born into complete lack of abundance. Because as per the law of relativity, you have to, in order to truly understand and embody abundance, you have to have something comparatively to compare it to so that you understand and know that you're in abundance, meaning you got to know what lack of abundance is. So you can't start from abundance and work your way. You got to work from lack of, and then through the trials and tribulations and the difficulties and the challenges, really understand what that means for you as a unique soul with a unique life history, experience history through the millennia, to have that understanding, right? So that's what karma is. And so to your point, your question was, well, does everybody come in like, that they're going to experience all these horrible things? To an extent, yes, to one degree or another. Now, it is an understanding that every 7 years, every 7 incarnations, you get a reprieve. You get an easier one, right? Give you a little break, right? Where it's not so challenging. It's more of a smooth sail.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna watch TV, play video games, and just
yeah. I'll be born into a family. Things will be pretty much taken care of. I might have a little drama here or there, but no big thing. And then there's some of us that are like, what? I'm going in full throttle. I want to make great leaps and strides. So I'm going to put myself into a real difficult situation.
Yeah, I'm going to be an alcoholic, suicidal, drug addict.
And I'm going to overcome it all. And, and I'll make a huge leap in my soul's growth and expansion. Right.
Right. So everybody plays in a way a different function. I'm curious. Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and just, you made a comment before that I think was really profound about like people saying, well, how could it be, how could you say we're all one? Because you've got these real evil folk over here, and I'm not one with that. That's not me. That's something completely foreign to me. Understand that, again, in order for us to know good, there has to be bad, right? There has to be. And the understanding is, with the law of one, if you want to call it the law of love or unconditional love, right? Because God, source, is pure unconditional love. That's how come these things can be here. That's how come these things can exist, because God, source, doesn't discern, say, well, let's judge that as bad, and so we're going to throw that out. That's not unconditional love. Unconditional love is when you receive and accept what is there as it is, as part of you. You bring it into you. That's unconditional love. You don't discern, that's conditional, right? You got to be a certain way or have a certain frequency or whatever for me to accept you and to bring you into my fold. And that's not what God or source is about. It is benevolent. It doesn't make a difference. It is all loving and accepting, right? And that's the law of one.
So I guess it would depend on where a person is to how they view God or how they view other people, because I've noticed in myself, if I'm feeling really down or having a bad day or something, that like everything seems worse. The worst, the events in the world, my prospects, everything seems way worse. And then when you're feeling happy and all that, it's pure optimism, and you're like, yeah, everything's gonna be all right.
Yeah. And that's a very natural process. And again, it goes back to universal law in that the vibration that you choose to tune into, whether it's a vibration of, you know, down and out, right? You want to think of a radio dial. Are you going to tune into down and out today? Because if you're going to tune into down and out, that's what you're going to get. So all the experiences, the people, the situations are going to be a down and out kind of energy. That's what you're tuning into. Or you're going to choose to tune into the optimistic, glass is half full, everything is going to be all right. Because if you're going to tune into that, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to attract that to you. And that in essence is the law of attraction in its simplest form.
It's kind of like, there's a philosopher we like, Eric Hoffer, and he talks about how perception is like, paraphrase it, he didn't say it this way, but to me, it's like a Google search, like whatever you search for, you're going to find, you know, you're going to find plenty of evidence, even when there's not, that's not the case. You're still going to find some small inclination to be like, yeah, this person is like that, even though that might entirely be wrong, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And having lived in hostels for many years, I've been, even though I thought I knew people and all that, I thought this person's like that. And I tended to make quick judgments. But then sometimes I would change my mind about them just before they left. because I don't know, because maybe the act of somebody's leaving and all that makes you like reconsider something about them. And then I'd be like, you know, maybe I was wrong. You know, after they're gone, maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, it's definitely easier to let go.
Yeah.
When there's a, you know, what do you want to call it? Like there's light at the end of the tunnel because they're leaving. So now it's easier for you to just let go. Right.
The converse is also true. Like we talked before about somebody being in an extreme situation, like an alcoholic, and then they have to like admit they need help or they're gonna probably die, you know, and then they go to AA or whatever it is. And I think that's the point where maybe that's the point of suffering, is to get you to admit I can't do everything by myself.
Yeah. You know, there's Eckhart Tolle, and he talks about that quite a bit, you know, in The Power of Now and the Awakened Earth. And he speaks to that point that it's through the suffering that the awakening occurs, you know. And if you think of that term or that saying that we have, like invention, you know, necessity is the mother of all invention.
Yeah.
Like when you really need it, that's when you start getting creative with, you got to go outside of your comfort zone and figure out a solution, right?
So that's also true for spiritual stuff, because you got to make a decision. It's not just like, I was reading this autobiography about Churchill, and he, before there was, he went as a journalist to the, I think it was South African War or something, Boer War, and he was captured, and then he fled. But then he was in enemy territory where most of the houses were probably going to be enemies. And then there's a really good line. He said, none of the philosophy and all this stuff helped me because all this stuff was basically written in a time of like leisure. Like the philosophers mostly write, you know, there's nothing really going on much with their life. But he had to like really own up that there's something more. And then he prayed, and then he just went on knocked on the door, and it was one of the only doors around the radius of many miles that was friendly. So he got lucky, because he prayed, you know. Yeah. So is it possible that do you sometimes get clients that are not, that didn't really pay for it, and they're just there to because somebody else wants to help them? Or do you get like basically as the skeptic?
Well, I get a lot of requests for that.
Okay.
I have a lot of my clients, they'll ask me, can you help my wife? Can you help my son? My daughter needs you.
Right.
And I always say, I'm here, but they have to walk through the threshold. It has to be, to your point, like there has to be a heartfelt, heart-based intent, a desire and a need for shift and change within themselves. It can't be pressed upon them. It can't be told to them. It's something that they have to resonate with, and then be moved enough to act upon that. So I always say, I'm more than welcome. You have my information, have them contact me. Right, so if they actually contact me, then I know, right? It's not the other person contacting for them. They have to take that step. And it's tried and true every time. I always say, if somebody makes their way to me, whether they're coming through my doorway or they're connecting with me online, they're ready. They're ready for whatever it is that I have to offer.
Or let's say this way, if somebody goes to you and they're like, they decide, but they're still like very much reserved, and they're like, I'm skeptical. I don't know if this works. And I guess it would depend on the degree, but probably you can tell if somebody is very defensive, or if they're open and to see what your session is like.
Yeah. Oh, that's very clear. You know, it's clear if they're blocked in one way or another, or if they're resistant, right? It usually shows up as resistance. Either it's resistance to hearing it, but again, there's all purpose in that. Even if they're resistant, they're there for a reason, and whatever level or layer that they can receive it, they're there to receive it, right? It's not anything about me or what I think or feel. It's about what they think or feel, and how are they receiving it, and how are they processing it. And that's all a very organic, subconscious, automatic process for them, you know, for all of us. When, you know, I've been where I've had readings for myself or healing work for myself, because I'm a huge advocate for healing work. You know, 80% of the junk that we carry around with us, whether it's beliefs or sabotages or subconscious ego agendas, aren't even our own. They come, 80% of that comes from other times, places, whether it's ancestors or DNA, lineage, or past lives. And when I've had healings where people have, you know, said, okay, well, this is coming through, that's coming through. And I'm like, hell no, that's not me. Like, I'm not that person. I don't know what you're talking about. That, let's move on. And sure enough, you know, after being open and receiving and allowing us to go deeper and deeper, then all of a sudden, oh, that's what it is. Oh, you know, never knew that about myself. Never knew that that was something operating within me that was holding me down and back. Never knew that. So the more open that you are, right, like anything else, the more you're going to come into your wholeness, the more they're going to peel back those layers of illusion, because those layers of illusion are good. You know, you don't even know they're there. You're operating from that place in a very subtle subconscious way, but it shows up in your reality through stress and difficulties and pains and challenges, right?
Is it because we love it? Is it because we enjoy it in a way?
I don't think so.
We're like, yes, I get the payoff from this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I don't think it's because we love it, but what we do, you know, what we do love is the process of coming back into unity with the one, right? I mean, that's what we all feel deep down inside. Like there's a part missing, there's something missing, and we're searching for it. And what that is it's unity with the source, going back home, back into that wholeness and into that cocoon or cradle of unconditional love within ourselves. That we love, and the need for that is what drives us to go through the pain, to go through the process and the evolution of literally coming back into the wholeness of ourselves, because we can only receive that which we are. Nothing outside of you is going to make you whole. You have to come into wholeness within yourself.
That's a very kind of big statement. You only receive what you are. So give me an example of somebody. Does that mean if somebody's like really mean or really kind of stingy, maybe to themselves, is that because maybe they're avoiding other people, but then that they would be getting that from other people, and then that would reinforce their kind of illusion, kind of self-fulfilling prophecy? Is that what you're talking about?
You hit it right on the dot. Right on the dot. That's it. And that goes to the law of reflection. Right. You are literally a walking projector. like a projector, like in a movie theater, you got your projector, and you are seeing on the screen what you are, in essence, aspects of yourself. It's not always a one-to-one, but it's literally aspects of your being is being reflected back at you. And oftentimes what we do, our automatic reaction is to go to the screen and try to change the screen. Well, that person's doing that this experience, it's their fault, it's this, and trying to shift or change it on the screen. You got to change the projector if you want to change it.
Are you saying that anything you see in other people that you don't like is something you don't like in yourself? Like everything?
Yeah, anything.
Even if you say objectively, Hitler, or going to the extreme example, I'm not like that, but in a way you're saying there is an aspect of you that could become like that, so be wary, be careful.
Well, it's not just that, it's a lot more than that. There's a lot of possibilities with it. So let's use the Hitler example, because it's a pretty black and white example.
Yeah.
So it may not be that you're afraid that you're going to become like that, but what it may be is that, for example, you get angry or triggered at the idea of Hitler because, say, what he did to people, right? What he did, to the human race. So then you got to dig and say, well, what is it that angers me about what he did with the human race? And so you dig and you dig and dig. And maybe at the bottom of that, process, it comes to that it makes you feel insecure. It makes you feel like, that this could happen to you. Fear. So you're afraid of the fear of that happening to you. Right. Okay. So it's not that, it's not, like I said, it's not a one-to-one, right? It's an aspect within you. You're being triggered. Okay. That's the messenger. You're being triggered because there's something within you that needs to be seen, felt, heard, touched, processed, right? So that you can release it and let it go. Everything around you is a messenger calling you forth to that process.
I want to go to the previous point that, because the way I kind of see some things is sometimes very black and white. There's another Hoffer quote that I like, that everyone is battling, the good and the evil is battling in each soul, basically, that there's a battle in your soul. So, but that would mean that the potential is there that somebody can turn evil based on their decisions and all that, like that you go down or up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your choices define the path, right? Right. So
okay. Talking about choices, what do you think about free will? Because going back to my man I really like, Churchill, he had a quote that determination and free will is the same thing, like predetermination and free will. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around that quote, because it's really really big. I believe in it to a degree. I think it's more like you have maybe limited choices. It's not like a buffet. You can be anything. No, you only have maybe 2 choices or 5 or 10, but that's it. And like a small piano rather than a big one.
Yeah. That's a deep concept. So you're talking about what he's saying when he says predetermination and free will can be translated also to destiny and free will, right? So destiny is the most likely probabilities,
right,
based on where you are at this moment in your soul's journey, right? Based on where you are in the soul's journey, and that's the law of cause and effect, right? You had other things that cause it, now there's an effect, and the effect is what you got to work with, right? Which is kind of like your destiny. Mm-hmm. So I used to use this way back in the day, with my clients. I think of it as a deck of cards. You have a deck of cards and you get your hand. That's your destiny. Say it's the 7 cards in your hand. That's your destiny. This is what you have to work with based on the law of cause and effect. Where you are right now, this is what you have to work with, destiny. These are your probabilities. But now the free will is, how are you playing your hand during your life? What choices are you making? What are you drawing to? What are you tuning to? What are you trying to create? That's your free will. is manipulating, changing when working with those cards, right? Are you trading them out for something else? Are you making a choice with this? Are you laying this down there? So everything is a blend and a merge of destiny and free will. It is one and the same. And again, it's two folds of the same.
Wow, that's quite a lot. I don't know if I can process that right now. Okay, what do you think about the religion? Obviously, there is. I've had I respect religion, and I would say I'm Christian myself. Although I how can I say this? I dabble. I like. I think I'm a pragmatist, whereas I like things that work. Like if astrology can say something about us, yes, I like it. And if something is not as useful, I don't like it. That's my point of view. So what would you say about okay, let me give you an example, because I think there's a true experience and there's an experience that's hypnotic. The most obvious is the Christian baptisms, or I will heal you and then they start shaking and all that. I think that's maybe a lot of it is hypnotic. I don't know if that's actually true, and a lot of those people charge a lot of money. I don't know if that's I think, but there is also the genuine experience. So how have you seen this play out in your practice, if you have the kind of religious experience? Do some people go like, oh, I'm gonna become Buddhist, or because something I've seen from your reading?
Yeah, it's the thing is that with my work, it goes across all sects, religions. It has no, it's not religion. Like religion is, religion is where you need something, or you need something to be provided to you so that you have a direct channel to God, for example, or source. Whereas my work in spirituality is the understanding and the knowing that you are the direct channel to the source. You don't need anything outside of you to assist you in connecting. All you need is you. And in order to connect up and out, how you connect up and out is by going down and in within yourself. You are your own temple, right? So what I find is with my work, is I get people of all different religious backgrounds, and what I do supplements and enhances their connection, right? Wherever
So
they're at with their religious thing, it gets supplemented and strengthen their connection, right? So if you have the belief that going to church helps you to connect, then by all means go to church. But I'm going to teach you how in church you can then connect even deeper. You can, and you can take that church with you throughout your week within your own temple, right?
Yeah, I do believe the God goes wherever you go kind of thing.
Yeah.
Though I don't often have the awareness of it. I'm working on that. So how? Okay,
just really quick, I could say for myself in my own process. I mean, I came out of my mother's womb intact, like having out of body experiences and traveling to other solar systems.
How do you do that? I would like to have something strange happen. Nothing ever happens.
It was an automatic thing for me. I was born, when we're born and we go through that process of being birthed, it's what they call the veil drops, right? So we go from the etheric into the physical. And when we go into the physical, this veil, this curtain drops. And then it's like, you forget completely that you are connected to the source, or that you're a spiritual being. For me, that didn't happen. I came out of my mother's womb and I was fully intact, like traveling around the house when I wanted to see her when I was a baby in the crib and she wouldn't come. I always had that experience. So for me, it's been far different.
Can you shut off the can you will yourself to be in the body, and can you shut off the?
Well, that actually happened to me. I shut it off when I was 7, but then I just started doing it in secret. Like I was living like a double life, right? So when I was 7 years old, my mother scared the living G's out of me, and I stopped connecting.
How did she scare you?
So what I used to do, it's a haul. So when I was around 7, let me back up. Okay. From the time I was born till I was around 7, I wasn't happy with the way things were in my house. There was something that was very upsetting to me in direct correlation with my mother, because my mother was very abusive. So what I would do is I would sleepwalk, and I would find her in the house, and I would cry at her, like literally cry at her. I'd find her in silence wherever she was, and I'd stare at her. And finally, I was 7 years old. I remember in the morning, I'll never forget it like it was yesterday. She took me and she looked me deep in the eye and she was like, "You're done. Never again. It stops now. Over. You know, you're never to do that again. No more, blah, blah, blah." And I went, and I just stopped. I just stopped talking about it, expressing it. I stopped allowing it. I stopped allowing myself to be a channel like that.
Wait, hold on. I'm not understanding totally. So you are, when you were young, you didn't control it because you were like were you dreaming and then walking, or was it like you went out of body and then your body just went somewhere on its own?
Yeah, all different. Sometimes I would just will myself out of my body and pop myself. It was natural for me. This is who I was. I was a spiritual being living as such in the physical world. I would do it in the middle of the day and a lot of times at night. I did it regularly. It was just like a normal thing for me. I'd pop out of my body, pop into my body. Mm-hmm. My mother always said, like, as a baby, I was the most wonderful baby. You could put me in a baby swing and all day long I'd stay there completely content because I would go wherever I wanted to go and do whatever I wanted to do. But when I was 7 and my mother did that, I shut off a whole part of myself. So I stopped willing myself out of my body. Although when I went to sleep at night, I would have amazing adventures, but it remained just in the dreamscape.
Right.
I stopped the connection into my physical conscious world. But still, when I was 11, I was called in to do all of this divination work. And it was just very second nature to me. By the time I was 18, I had my own practice. But then I fell right into the whole program of this world, completely disconnected from that spiritual side of myself. Started traveling the world. I was an actress. I was over in Europe. I was studying dance. I got really into the whole program, moved into New York City, got into the unions, and got myself into a whole lot of mess.
Wait, into unions, is that indicative of being in a mess?
No, the union is, in like the Screen Actors Guild, movies, things like that. Okay.
Immediately I thought of construction union. I was like, nah, can't be that.
Yeah, so I really got myself into horrible relationships, all sorts of abuse, struggle, lack, fear, like really went deep into the whole program of this reality.
Right. Is it because you forgot what you were? Is it because you got too immersed in the world?
Too immersed in this world, in chasing and struggling, and the whole program of how we've been set up to live. Right. Through the conditioning of our environment, conditioning of our cultures, the media, peers, parents, and I disconnected from my own inner self, my own higher self, which knew what was best for me from a higher level. Totally disconnected from that.
Okay, so what do you do now? What is your kind of practice or spiritual practice that you do now to stay connected?
Ooh, well, that's always fun to answer. So yeah, it's been a process. I started off using a physical tool to reconnect myself. I got myself into such a depression, I guess you could say. I mean, not like an emotional, but a depression in life where I just was like, I wasn't where I wanted to be. I wasn't, and I knew I wanted so much more, and I didn't know how to get out of the mess I was in. Like I was addicted to Adderall. I was smoking, chain smoking, using, all sorts of extracurricular activities and drugs, just to supplement, keep myself distracted. And I got myself into a place I didn't want to be here anymore. Still functioning, still professional, but just not happy. And I went back to my crystals. I always loved crystals. And so crystals started calling me. So I started working with crystals. And what happened was one night I was outside under the stars, and I just intuitively put like a grid of crystals together. I just started intuitively just putting them. And I looked up at the stars and I just said, you know, I'm ready. I'm done with this. You know, I'm ready for more. And I remember using the word ascend, and I didn't even really know what that word meant, right? I wasn't really in touch with my spiritual side or the spiritual community, but I said, I'm ready to ascend. And that's when the floodgates opened, and my spiritual foundation just started to build just on that. So if anybody asks me, well, how do you start building a spiritual foundation? If you really want it and you feel like you're ready for that and you want it, you just got to ask. And you got to ask from the heart, you know, and your process, your spiritual foundation will make itself known to you layer after layer, brick after brick, to the point now where, you know, I'm walking and talking with my whole team with me all the time. Like,
well,
you know.
What do you mean? But when you say team, you mean your guardian angels in a way?
Yeah, if you want to say guardian angels, your masters, your teachers, your guides.
And this is what you use during the sessions, right? You connect with yours and then with other people's guides.
Absolutely. Before I do any session work on any level with anyone, even before coming on here, you know, I call them in, I feel them coming in, I set my intention, I condition my energetic space of what it is that we're going to achieve or do.
Right. You meet with my people as well?
Yeah. And I allow them to come in and yeah.
I don't think I've ever met them like that.
The fact is that this right here, like in your physical body, is the smallest part of yourself. The greatest part of you is outside of you, is within your fields of resonance.
I find that hard to grasp intellectually. Yeah. So, okay, when you do sessions, I want to give the audience a sense of what you do exactly in the sessions. Is it, do you first talk with people, or you just get an intuitive sense, or does it depend what technique you use on the client?
Right. You know, it all depends. It depends on what the client is there for, and what they're there to do. When I do soul contract work, you know, if somebody's reaching out to me to soul contract, again, that's a big green flag letting me know they're ready. All I need is their, you know.
Why?
I'm sorry?
Why?
Because soul contract work is deep work. It's a deep transmission of truth to the person, exactly why they chose to be born, where they were born, why their life has gone down the way it's gone down, why they've had the experiences that they've experienced, and what they're here to do. It answers all of those questions, and it's very, very deep. And that's why I record them all and I send them, because there's only so much you can process in that 90 minutes. You go into overload mode. You need to take it, because it's totally transformative. And that's what I mean. If you're reaching out and you're going to have a soul contract reading with me, that means on a soul level, you're ready. Your higher self is bringing you there because you are ready to start taking it up a notch in terms of your consciousness, you know, your conscious awareness of who you are and what you're doing here. So.
Okay. Well, let's say I am, for the sake of argument, or now I am actually, I'm trying to find out what exactly it is that I'm here to do. And I try to sometimes pray about it and I get inklings here and there. But so in your session, you would let's see. So before the client comes, you kind of pray and get their people or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like intuitive. Is it like auditory, or how do you? Because I'm trying to imagine how are you doing this work?
Okay. So what it is I get their information, so about their names, and then I take that and I translate their names, the sounds as per the ancient Hebrew alphabet, into frequencies, which are all signified by numbers. And then based on that reading, lets me know what their karma is, what their talents are, what their goals are, what ultimately their soul destiny and life mission is in this incarnation. And what I do is I channel that through. So the frequencies mean certain things, but they all work on a spectrum, right? And the spectrum, you know, it's like you could be on the lower end of a spectrum, you could be on a higher end of a spectrum. Because I've had people say to me, well, how can we all be so unique? Say I have the same name as that guy, you know, then we're the same person. And I said, no, 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 because you have 7 aspects in your chart, right, with your birth name alone, but where you are in the spectrum is completely unique to you, right? There's infinite frequency within the spectrum. You could be all the way on the lower end where you're really struggling to all the way on the higher end where been there, done that, you know how to work with it, you got the tools and you're flying high. You know, you're in alignment with the frequency and it's working for you.
Oh, you're not talking about kind of level of consciousness as like the work of David Hawkins. You're talking about how aligned you are to where you should be going.
Yes, which is also in tune with David Hawkins and with the, you know, with the, you know, Omega chart, you're showing the frequency of the emotion chart and all of that. Like, absolutely, you know, for example, and I'm just going to say like a frequency of 10-1, if you're struggling in it, you're all the way at the bottom, you know, you're all the way at the bottom of fear, you're all the way at the bottom of blame, you know, judgment. But if you're in the higher end of it, you could be in total enlightenment within that 10-1 frequency. And then there's all the infinite ranges that are in between those, right? Depending upon where you're at. So that's where the channeling comes in. Right? So the basic gives me the frequency and then I channel through where they are in that spectrum. And then also the reading in itself is a team effort between me and the person, meaning that when I speak to the person and what the person is projecting at me lets me know where I'm going with it. So it's a process. You know, it's a full 90-minute recorded process. It's a lot of information. I still have clients reach out to me and say, I got a question about this. Like, oh my God, like, you know, there was something you said and I'm integrating it and now I'm seeing shifts and changes in my reality. But what about this? Like, this doesn't make sense, you know, and then, you know, I answer and I guide them on, you know, a little bit deeper.
I guess this is what I'm receiving because I met somebody online as well that does this, but she recommended 2 people that are training. So I'm going to get the readings from the 2 people that are training, which probably is not as good as yours or somebody that's well trained in it. But I was like, yes, okay. Let me see what comes of it.
Yeah. You know, and that's the thing is that you'll receive what you're ready to receive. No more, no less, you know, and that's why I say, if somebody's coming to me for a reading, then they're ready for what it is that I have to give them, which may be different than what it is that somebody else may be giving. You know, it's all about resonance and frequency matching in this universe. You will attract to you that which is going to serve you, whether the messenger is good, bad, or indifferent, right? You are always receiving that which is serving you.
Yeah, I just got that somebody could be maybe doing too many psychics and all that, and then you get confused because then you may be relying too much on what other people are saying or what other people are like praying for you versus what your own intuition or what you know, word of God or whatever you may call it, but what you get for yourself, you know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you're taking in too much from other people through other people's lenses, filters, perspectives, it's just clouding up your own, you know. And there's a balance between, there's nothing wrong with going to a psychic, there's nothing wrong with going to a reader, there's nothing wrong with going to a healer. You know, they're there as guides so long as you're not overloading yourself, because a lot of times what people do when they do that is they're overloading and they're not getting anywhere, because you got to give time to integrate and to process.
What if the psychic is, like you said about the religious experience, what if it's not real? What if the psychic is, you know, a fraud? And then you're relying on that and you hope to God it leads you somewhere good.
Yeah.
I guess that's my only like reservation, because I'm kind of on the fence a little bit about that sometimes. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know if because I've had, okay, my personal story. I've had it one time. I went to the, I was gonna go for a psychic reading one time because I was like really out of it or something. I wasn't sure what to do, and then it turned out to be a tarot reading card, so tarot reading. So I wasn't sure, but then I was already there, so I was like sure. And then what she ended up saying, well, it kind of was really good, so I felt really good about myself for a while. But then anyway, long story short, something happened where I met this person and I thought, oh, this person is gonna be the one that's gonna help me, and but then it turned out that actually this person was just wasting my time and scammed me of $100 or something like that. It wasn't a big deal, but it was kind of like, and then I thought back and I was like, is it because of the tarot reading that I just, you know what I mean? It's like, then you start relying not on intuition, but like on the hope that something said from before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. And again, it is a fine line. Like if you get like a tarot reading or something like that, you don't want to hold on, because understand that a tarot reading is a pure energetic reflection of where you are right now. So where you are right now is different than where you're going to be in a week. And depending upon your choices is what, again, if you think of the deck of cards, you know, say that reading, this is the deck of cards, the hands that you have, but everything that you do, think, feel, all the choices that you make is what morphs and shifts those cards. So
okay, I see.
Place a week from there. So you want to take it, but you want to take it and you want to hold on to it lightly, and you want to go inside and tune into your own inner sense. So say if there's something, for example, let's bring it down. Say you have a tarot reading and there's an aspect within a tarot reading that you're real psyched about. And you're like, oh my God, that would just be awesome. Yeah. What you want to do is you want to tune into yourself with how awesome that would be. And you want to project that out, but then you want to let it go. You want to set an intention. So say when you wake up in the morning, the first 5 minutes you wake up, you go in, you center yourself, you bring yourself into that smiley, wonderful space of the reality of what that is, and you feel all gushy and good, then you let it go.
Like you visualize, but then you don't hold on to it like a strong
desire. Don't hold on.
Okay.
Because then you're holding on to something outside of yourself. You want to bring it in, you want to resonate with it, make yourself a resonant match to whatever that is, and then let it go and follow your intuitive senses throughout your day. And it will gently and naturally and organically lead you towards it, rather than you holding on to what somebody said that is stagnant. Right.
That reminds me of the Letting Go by Dr. Hawkins, where he's like, if you desire something too strongly, you're blocking it. So you need to let go of the desire.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So for my listeners here, if anybody's listening to this, well, I must assume people are listening. Okay. For listeners here, where can they find you? I'm probably going to supply links, but you have a website, yes?
Yes, I do. It's under construction, but you can feel free to go there. It's www.yoursource.co. So it's co as in co-creation, not com. So it's yoursource spelled out YOUARESOURCE. yoursource.co.
I didn't know you could end websites.co.
Yeah.
I thought it was like Colombia.
.love, .co, .biz. It's amazing what they have available.
Okay. I thought it would be like Colombia or something. .co.
.co. Yeah.
Okay, well, it was lovely talking to you. You're my first guest, so I'm really happy that you decided to do this on somebody that you don't even know. But I guess you talked to my people and you were like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's all good. No, I felt right into your vibe. It's all good. Sharing and spreading the love.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yes.
I'm glad we got to do this.
Me too.
All right. So this concludes this podcast for today.
Yes. Thank you all. Much love. Bye.
Bye.